Are you going to root for Nick Chubb in Houston?
Yeah, probably. Why not?
I don't know. I'm torn. I want to root for Nick, but man, I really don't like the Texans.
Yeah, but I like C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, me too.
So you like the quarterback and the running back, but you don't like them?
Yeah, I think that's always a thing.
There are a lot of teams that fit that example.
No, there isn't.
But you hate their coach, right?
DeMeco Ryans?
Yeah.
Why do I hate him?
Exactly. So
I don't
you like
hate him.
the coach, the running back, and the quarterback.
Honestly, it's like I don't like looking at them like they're like a model franchise.
We all know why you hate them. It's the same reason that a lot of people hate them.
Tell me why.
She got grifted.
Bingo. Thank you very much. Yep, that's why. And it's like, well, and then like the owner's wife was like, thanks for the picks. I'm like, you guys want to go back over some of the fine print? Some of that stuff that was going down there? We want to do this? Hold on there. But then I'm like, I got my own problems I got to worry about. And now Nick is, it looks like according to Aaron Wilson, who was on KPRC, that's a clip we played for you there. Nick Chubb is going to be headed to Houston. You asked me how I felt about it, and I said I'd kind of gotten myself ready during draft weekend that he wasn't going to be here. That said, it still sucks. I mean, there were definitely people who were saying, like, hey, we want to bring him back. We want to bring him back. We want to bring him back. I knew that there were some other teams that were interested, obviously, but if he's going to Houston, I don't want to – it's hard. It's hard for me to root for him down in Houston, but it's better than him playing for the Steelers or anywhere else. I'm still trying to process it emotionally because I'm thinking, how many more years does he have? If he has one more year and that year is with the Houston Texans, then if they don't like win the Super Bowl, then he's ours. It kind of feels like he's ours forever. There's like a part of the family type of thing that you have with a player over that time. And then I think about, well, do I get mad at the Browns? Do I get mad at that? Is this the best football decision? Is this the best football decision? It's certainly not good for the reaction for the fans. It's not good for customer service, no doubt about it. But is it the best football decision?
Well, from a football perspective, I mean, he had just had by far his worst year ever, and then he got injured again. So there's not a lot of actual for the building of the new Cleveland Browns for their rebuild that they're in the middle of, or really just starting.
But that's the thing is I can get mad because they're not rebuilding. They've doubled down with Myles Garrett. Joel Bitonio's back. You had chances to kind of liquidate assets in so many ways. You didn't do that. So if they're not a part of a rebuild, is this just normal? Hey, we don't think he's that great anymore, and that's it. That's something they're going to have to gamble with because they've gambled on that type of thing before and they've lost.
It's interesting phrasing because, like, you're right. They're still hanging on, by a thread here with the guys that are aging. But to me, the rebuild has started. Like they've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Which that's probably not the way to do it.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's a bizarre set of circumstances that I do think the cap has something to do with it too. Like they're just in the middle. They're in the middle of this thing, but like everybody expects him to be really bad. So that's normally when we associate a rebuild, right? Is with,
you would think,
leveling off, you're pivoting from who your core is, because Bitonio, Conklin, Teller, they're not really a part of your core.
But it feels like you're giving them an out, and I don't like that. And I don't think you're trying to make excuses for him. But when you say, well, it's the rebuild, then why did you keep Myles Garrett? I mean, you had every opportunity. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the dead cap space when people say, well, the dead cap. No, if you wanted to really rebuild, you would have gotten 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett, and then everything would have been fine. If you were to trade Myles Garrett and then Nick Chubb ends up with the Houston Texans, like, oh, okay, like, yeah, this is all. Add it to the list of all the things that are going on. But you brought back Myles Garrett. You've kept your veterans. You did not move on from all the other names that we talked. Greg Newsome still plays for the Cleveland Browns, does he not? Like, there's guys that you've kept, and you're trying to win football games because you are 6 years into this regime with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. And then Nick Chubb goes, just admit you don't think he's very good at football anymore. Not you, them. Just admit you don't think he's very good at football anymore, or you would have kept him. So if you don't think he's very good at football anymore, there's plenty of teams that let guys go that don't think they're very good at football. Okay. But just let's call that what it is instead of, well, this is the rebuild. No, it's not the rebuild. If it was a real rebuild, they would have told you right up front, like a lot of teams do. So it's going to be a gamble because I think a lot of people, and this is my fear. This is my true fear. Is I'm excited about Quinshon Judkins. I'm excited about that young man. I'm excited about the possibilities of Dylan Sampson, who is their 4th round choice this year. Jerome Ford. He's a fine enough player. I think that he's gotten a bad name a little bit just because his name's not Nick Chubb over these last few years.
It's kind of a feast or famine running back, right?
Yeah, I mean, because he doesn't look fast. He's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. When he reaches top speed, it's unbelievable. Those guys got to be good, because if those guys ain't good, you're going to be very upset, because I think that he'll have some sort of, do you believe that he'll have a good year, some sort of a resurgence? It can't be, he's got to be better than what he was last year. You've had more time off. You've had more time to rehabilitate.
Because he's a year older and coming off an injury.
He is.
I don't have big expectations for him at all.
But when he hurt
at this point, which I think the Browns kind of agreed with that sentiment.
True, but when he broke his foot, many were saying this is a broken foot. Yeah, it's serious now, but it shouldn't have any long-term effects. A broken bone's a broken bone. So that's serious now, but it shouldn't have any long-term effects. The knee was still the issue there, where those were the long-term effects you're coming from. I mean, we're going into 2 years now with Nick after the knee injury. So I think a lot of people are thinking, I don't know if it's going to be 1,100 yards on the ground and all this, that, and the other. But I also know that it should be better than what it was last year. And I think a lot of people are going, well, they let Kareem Hunt walk, and then he was putting up 100 yards on Sunday Night Football last time we saw him. And what, did he play in the Super Bowl, or did he not play in the Super Bowl?
He did.
Okay, he did play in the Super Bowl. So there you go. And if Nick becomes that guy, oh God, heaven help us. Heaven help us. So that's the risk. But I'm not going to subscribe to, well, it's the rebuild. You are what you say you are, and you've signed Nick Chubb for an extension, or you've signed Myles Garrett for an extension, and I've gone down that list before.
So you don't think, even in hearing Andrew Berry last week on that podcast, we played it on Friday with him in Jacksonville, and he talked about their horizon, their timeline. It kind of sounded like to me like they've started the rebuild.
No, I think
they didn't do it all in 1 year. Like they didn't clean house and try to tank. But they do have 2 first-round picks next year anyway, in a year where everybody assumes they're going to be one of the worst teams in football. Doesn't that to you sound like the start of a rebuild?
I think that sounds a lot like a bunch of excuses. Because if you were to rebuild...
Well, wait, do you expect them to win a bunch of games this year?
No.
Yeah.
But when you say rebuild, it just sounds to me like, does it not sound like an excuse when people hear rebuild? Like, well, it's part of the rebuild. Rebuild what? You went to the playoffs twice in 6 years, which is nice for, considering the history. But what are we rebuilding?
But we all agree they missed the window, right? So
yeah.
So if you miss the window, with all the guys that helped propel for the first playoff run for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The window that we had talked about, where that's why you're bringing in Deshaun Watson. You're bringing in Deshaun Watson because you wanted to take a huge swing, this massive swing at quarterback for a team that was loaded, right?
Yeah.
We don't think this team's that loaded anymore.
No.
We got Pro Football Focus thinks you have the worst roster in the league.
Yeah.
We pushed back about that.
Yes, we did.
But what else is that?
But I would push back and say, then what are you still doing here? Like, there's other guys.
You're talking
in the
to
league.
Somebody who is definitely.
You see what I mean? I don't want to fight you over what the things we have problems with what they've done with. You get what I'm saying? Like, I could see where this was starting to turn into me getting red-faced with you and you getting red-faced with me and being exasperated with each other. I'm not planning on doing that, at least not right now. I am not ripping you for calling it a rebuild. I imagine 216-474-0092. I imagine a lot of the people agree with you. I'm just not going to do that. Rebuilding teams don't re-sign or don't extend their great big defensive ends. Rebuilding teams don't have 2 first-round picks coming up with the quarterback, where they usually do, but they don't take 2 quarterbacks in the 3rd and 5th round like they did over this last year. Rebuilding teams don't have 12-year guards coming back.
What you're really saying
teams don't extend it all the way out with Greg Newsome or Denzel Ward or any of the other names.
What you're really saying
about
is a rebuilding team doesn't bring back a GM and a coach after 3 and 14.
That's also true. Yes. Yeah. So they can't call it a rebuild because it's not a full-on rebuild.
So what is it? What is this year? I mean, we kind of stumbled into that last week, at the end of last week, and I didn't really hear a good answer from anybody about what this year is.
I don't think anybody has a good answer for it. What is the good answer? It's about winning as many games as possible to what? To extend it. That's all you're trying to do. It's just basically it's a giant credit card. You're trying to meet the minimum balance, or you're trying to meet the minimum payment on it. So what's the minimum payment to stay employed? I said seven wins would probably keep Kevin Stefanski. I don't know about Andrew Berry because I can't guarantee you that it's a package deal. Remember, Kevin was here before Andrew. It probably feels like a package deal to a lot of people, but I'm not so sure about that. So this Nick Chubb stuff brings up a lot of questions about what they're going to do or what they're doing right now, what their plan is. And I don't know if they have one.
It's also part of the reason why I think it's really easy to root for Nick Chubb, even though he's in the AFC.
Well, that's a great point.
Even though he's at a team that took advantage of you, or certainly looks like they have won one of the most lopsided trades in NFL history.
Yeah.
Some have said sports history.
Yeah.
I can't feel like it's still easy. Like they didn't turn to a rival, even though we played them in the playoffs. Didn't really feel like that was the start of a rivalry with Houston, did it?
No, I think that
especially because we're expected to be bad and they're expected to be good.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, the more I'm going, okay, like I guess I could see their plan, but it's a very convoluted plan. It's like win just enough to stay around, and then next year find your quarterback and somehow stay around and continue to build the team, even though that you're 3-14 coming off this last year. And I think fan sentiment was almost at an all-time low this last year. Engagement, excitement, all those things were at basically an all-time low last season. And you're trying to build for something in the future. That's why I've been so excited about the whole Shedeur Sanders conversation. At least to me, it's fun compared to the things we've been talking about over the last 3 years. And now this is one of the I forgot Nick's great. And now we got to let Nick go. And if they don't think that Nick's good anymore or good enough anymore, fine. That's fine. I can't. They know him better than I do. And I know that you've asked me about this, and it's hard for me to admit that he didn't look anywhere near like the type of running back that we have seen in the past. I think it's hard for a lot of fans to admit these things. These are some tough truths that we have to see with each other here. And I don't know if the franchise is seeing the truth for what it is right now, based on the decisions they've made for the now and for the future. And I think they are trying to thread a very, 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 very small hole in the needle of how they can all stay and keep the messaging the same way moving forward, and also win games and not have to lose anybody out of the process. I think it's an extremely difficult thing they're going to try to do. And more than likely, it ain't going to go their way. And more than likely, we're talking about new people getting ready for 2026. Nick is not the nail in the coffin, but he's one of the folks that I think that people will go back to, especially if he shows anything with the Houston Texans. But I think what a fan has to ask themselves are, do they think that Nick Chubb still has great, great football ahead of him, where they didn't have to take a Quinshon Judkins or a Dylan Sampson in this last draft? And no, I don't think so. So it's a hard thing to admit. And I think a lot of fans are going, well, now you let go of one of our fan favorites, a beloved player here. I mean, he's the best since Jim Brown to do it. 38 years I've been watching this. He's the best running back I've ever seen in a Browns uniform, bar none. I see the highlights. It makes me wish I would have enjoyed the highlights more. Some of the incredible runs, some of the incredible things he did, the stiff arm where he basically would have used Minka Fitzpatrick's head as a basketball once against the Steelers. The whole Eagles thing where he was basically forearming everybody, all that game. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff that Nick Chubb did for this football team. And it's like, we were trying to climb out of the gutter. We're trying to win these games. It's a tough season in 2020 with everything else going on. It's like, man, I wish I would have smelled the roses a little bit more with him, because what we saw was greatness. His time in Cleveland was absolute greatness. And now that time has come to an end. If they don't win a Super Bowl, if they win a Super Bowl, that's a sticky situation. Go ahead and ask Saquon Barkley and Giants fans about that one. But if they don't win the Super Bowl, then I feel he's kind of ours. But if they do win a Super Bowl and he's a big part of it, look out. Look out. Because if they're a really competitive team and he's a big part of it, look out for the front office anyway. Because it's another thing where, hey, you didn't win enough this year, and we got another guy going somewhere else who's proven that he had football left.
I mean, I just wonder, after last year, seeing how much of a shell he was of himself last year, do fans do fans sit there and they see some of the reporting where it was like, they had talked to the Browns. The Browns just didn't seem very interested. How upset?
Oh, I thought that they were. I thought that they were. I think there were definitely people in the building who have a lot of power in the building who really did want him to come back. Yes. I know that for a fact.
But he's not back because
I think there's two things. I think one, they're probably thinking his best football is behind him, and that's why they made the decisions they did in the draft. And number two, I think that Nick, in so many ways, was probably a little bit tired of the hoping instead of just, hey, I only got so many years left. I'm out here, have 1 year left. I'm going to go to a team that's a contender. And I'm sorry, that's it. This is just going to be the way it is. Because you and I can side-eye Chicago all we want. They expect to be contenders over there this year. 216-474-0092. Nobody needs to side-eye the Houston Texans. Everybody knows that they certainly intend to be contenders this year. So you're going to root for Nick in Houston. I think that there's another question here. What's this mean for our franchise and whether or not this is a rebuild or everything? This morning, the dangerous one, Darryl Ryder, going to join us on the show. We'll talk about Nick Chubb with him and what it means for how you take in the Browns, how he takes in the Browns this year. Because, you asked, are people rooting for Nick Chubb? Are they rooting for Nick Chubb in Houston? Houston is a team that has a weird history with us, clearly. You asked me the question. It's hard to root against Nick, so I can't see myself rooting against him. He goes to a team that I frankly, I don't like. I think that I don't know. Am I going to say they took advantage of us? Like the price was the price. That was it. They didn't make you pay Deshaun Watson $235 million guaranteed or whatever the number is. They said, thanks for the picks. I think they're I think every organization has the tendency to be goofy. I think that they're a goofy organization too. And I think they got themselves a hot hand and they're going to run it as long as they possibly can. So we'll see where that goes. But I can't concern myself with that other than, well, Nick Chubb plays for them now. And do you want Nick Chubb to do well? And I can't imagine a bunch of people saying that they're not rooting for Nick Chubb. I think there might be a question, are they rooting for Nick Chubb over whatever the 2025 Browns are going to be, which I think that's another question to bring up here in just a moment.
I do wonder, is Nick Chubb a guy that people will go out of their way to watch? That they loved him so much. He was so beloved here.
I think
that people will go out of their way to watch Texans games to see him run.
Yes.
Or does that end for a lot of fans the minute you're not wearing a Browns jersey?
For some maybe, but I think that they will go to see. I think because they want they got to understand this, and I think the Browns do to some level here. You got to understand. What do you think the approval rating is of Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry? So let's put Andrew Berry here. We put the general managers where the general managers are. What's the approval rating of Andrew Berry right now?
Feels like as low as it's been.
Okay,
right?
So if that means that 70% of people don't want Andrew Berry around, they are absolutely going to watch Nick Chubb to see if Nick Chubb has anything, and they're going to call us up on Monday going, did you see what Nick Chubb did yesterday against the Colts? Did you see that Nick Chubb had 115 yards and a touchdown against the Colts in a win? Did you see that, guys? What are we doing here with this team? Now, if Quinshon Judkins goes out there and runs for 115 and a touchdown or two and the Browns win, well, that's going to certainly stave off some of that. Or if Nick Chubb, unfortunately, if that season in week 2 or whatever it was basically the last time we saw the greatness of Nick Chubb, that's going to change it as well. Like, this is going to be based on if the Browns were a playoff team and they let Nick Chubb go, hey, them's the breaks. That's the way it goes. But they're not a playoff team. And the fans don't trust the front office. They don't trust Andrew Berry. They don't trust the decisions he's made. So automatically, you've seen a guy play well, a guy that you and your buddies and your kids and everybody love. People here love Nick Chubb. You saw that guy, and they're basically saying he's not good enough to play here anymore because you could have brought him back. You didn't bring him back. So you're telling everybody he's not good enough to play here anymore. You went out and got 2 rookies to come in and be in the running back room. You're telling everybody he's not good enough to play here anymore. But you're also the same front office that has made this mistake and that mistake and innumerable mistakes when it comes to the draft and when it comes to free agency. So yeah, hell yeah, they're going to be watching Nick Chubb. And they'll probably root for Nick Chubb. It's like, all right, let's make sure if we're going to go through this year, let's make sure we put our thumb on this and give them no wiggle room to wiggle out of this. Because there was a hell of a lot of people who wanted them gone after this last year. A hell of a lot of people.
I think tough part, Ken, is I'm operating under the assumption that he is not Nick Chubb anymore. And I think the most likely Browns are kind of thinking the same thing. You know, they saw him last year. For a guy, he's just been so amazing with us. I mean, we were tracking, could he finish up as the all-time yards per carry, leader in NFL history? And he was right there. I mean, he was like top 3 going into last year. And then, he just wasn't the same player. And then on top of that, he gets injured again. So, part of why I'm not screaming and yelling about losing Nick Chubb is I kind of feel like I'm sure the Browns think the same thing, which is he's not Nick Chubb anymore.
Are you okay with Nick Chubb leaving then?
Yeah. It stinks. Like, selfishly, like you wanted the guy to be a Brown his entire career. That's just so few and far between guys that do that anymore. Like for Joe Thomas to be able to achieve that, same time, Joe ends up leaving without any wins, any big wins. So Nick Chubb has a chance to do that now. I don't know how much, what is their running back situation, to begin with in Houston? Like, I don't see Nick Chubb going there and doing what Saquon Barkley did last year.
Joe Mixon.
So
he's brought in to be a backup. Is what he is.
Which is crazy to think about. I mean, he's only 29.
If they put any,
ball carrier years, that feels like 50.
That's high miles. He had high miles in Georgia. He got injured in Georgia. He obviously had high miles and a lot of carries here in Cleveland. I mean, it is what it is. But I think that a lot of folks go, well, wait a minute. You let Kareem Hunt walk. And that was a time where I remember, Lima, you and I were like, oh, yeah, he's probably at his end of his usefulness, and this is it. And you brought him in halfway through the year last year, and then this year, that's probably it. And then he goes out and he plays really well with the Kansas City Chiefs. And a lot of people would take Nick Chubb over Kareem Hunt, and so they assume that Nick Chubb's going to go out there and run for 115 and a touchdown every single game for the Houston Texans. I don't know if that's going to be true. And you hear where I stop myself because I don't want to say that it's not true because I like Nick Chubb as much as the next guy in Cleveland. Like, everybody loves Nick Chubb, and no, I don't think any fan wants to believe that he's outlived his usefulness with the Cleveland Browns. Last year, I thought a lot of it was he just got injured. You have to be the team that gives him a chance to reclaim whatever form he had. Plus, we're dealing with who playing quarterback. You needed some goodwill. Nick Chubb was a ton of goodwill last year. Now, that guy playing quarterback ain't going to play quarterback for you now. At least not with any actual thought. Right now, they don't intend on that to happen. That's why they got 4 guys in the quarterback room. So you don't intend for him to play. And I think that, again, it's led to this murkiness of what is your plan? What are you doing? What is it? Because Myles Garrett's coming back. All right, but we're not supposed to be that good of a football team, so we paid him $123 million guaranteed and made the contract even tougher to get out of moving through the future. And he's going to be with the Cleveland Browns until he's 34 years old, probably come hell or high water. You can't even trade that contract. You're bringing back Joel Bitonio. Okay, fans like Joel Bitonio. Is he still going to be to the tippy top of his level? Okay, now why do you have to have Joel Bitonio back so badly? Wyatt Teller, as much as I defend Wyatt Teller and Joel for that matter, but Joel, you were never trading. Wyatt Teller has been the topic of conversation for a lot of fans for the last 2 years about whether or not he was going to be here or not be here. Well, why do you have to keep these guys, Andrew? Is it because Zach Zinter isn't ready? Is it because of the injury, or is it because he's not able to play the position that he's asked to play yet? Which one is it supposed to be? Because Zach is still, if I'm not mistaken, a second-round pick. Shouldn't he be ready to go by now? Like, fans keep asking themselves that question, and that's what's frustrating. You said it was a rebuild. No, you can't call it a rebuild when you still have all these veterans on this football team. You can't do that because everything you've done in the quarterback room tells you it's a rebuild. Two quarterbacks this year out of the draft, 2 rookies. Well, we'll throw them into it and see whether or not that they can come out of the wash. You traded for Kenny Pickett. You traded a 5th-round pick on a flyer for a guy. We'll see if this guy can come out of the wash. You have 2 first-round picks next year. Right now, you're using both those first-round picks on a quarterback. Not 2 quarterbacks, but if you have to trade up or the first of those picks, maybe you're using on a quarterback there. You still intend to draft a quarterback there. But everywhere else, I go, how can you call this thing a rebuild? It's not. You've signed a guy to a massive extension with this football team. That's not what rebuilding teams do. Rebuilding teams, they take the dead cap hit, they trade the asset, and they get more picks for the future because by the time you get out from underneath whatever dead cap space, which it doesn't matter anyway because you're not going to be a good team, you will hopefully be ready to sign the rookies that you've drafted with those draft picks. However, can't say that because we're in a situation because we haven't really been able to have a lot of the guys for the future because we haven't had first-round draft picks in 3 years. 216-474-0092. So I think it leads to more confusion. You're a Browns fan. You want the team to do well. What is your plan to not just go out there and win 6-7 games? Because that shouldn't be the standard, and that's what I'm espousing the standard to be. 6-7 games to keep everybody employed. No. There's certainly people, they see this move. They see that Nick is not coming back. He's probably going to sign with the Houston Texans today, according to Aaron Wilson, and they're going, you know what? We got to go in some direction. Either you win enough to keep everybody around, or you lose enough to let people go, and then we can actually start anew. Let's go to the phones here. Nicholas in Columbus, you're next up on the Fan. Hello.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Hey, man, yeah, man, I feel like you, man. I really feel like as though I talked to homeboy for a minute, so I probably let a lot of it out, man.
Well, you weren't talking to them. You weren't talking to him on the air. Let it out again.
No, man, I'm pissed with this because it's like on the real, man, they going to suck. You know what I'm saying? Let's just keep it a buck. They not going to be good this year. They probably not going to be that good the following year. I understand, man, my man had a real severe injury. He got hurt again last year. But, like, bro, he the best thing we had since they've been back outside of him and Miles. And y'all going to just, like, and then trade him to the team that put it on you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're not trading Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb signed as a free agent.
I'm sorry. I apologize. He's going to the team. It's just that concept of he's going to the team that done stuck it up us already, man. And now that's happening. And then we gonna suck regardless, bro. Hey, man, you give me one more year of the brother, man. He the best player we had, bro. The best player, man, he deserved better. Man, he at least deserved a send-off here. I don't care, man. They gonna suck, bro. And they let the best thing we done had in a long time just go away, man. He deserved better than that, man. And plus, the dudes gonna be making the decisions next time. I don't trust these cats. They should have been gone. But now they getting draft picks and they gonna possibly make these decisions again. Name the best player they have drafted.
Over the last 6 years?
Whoever, the best player
this group, right?
Yeah.
And then take Denzel, Martin Emerson,
JOK, but he's hurt.
Oh, damn it! Yeah, JOK, but he's hurt.
JOK.
I would give you that. Unfortunately, damn, it's like I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
You know what?
Nick, what I think you're saying, Nick, and thank you very much for the call. I think you're speaking for about 75-80% of the fan base right now, because it's a nonstop wall that you're running into. You turn left, there's a wall. You turn right, there's a wall. It's like you can't break out of nothing. And I think it feels like some of the moves that they've made, it's like, are you just trying to get to your next lily pad? Because if you're just trying to get to your next lily pad, we ain't going to go anywhere. Because most people answer for 3-14 and bad decisions and bad drafting. And you've put yourself in this position now where you had to be perfect because you paid a guy, or you traded 3 first-round picks, not even the money. You traded 3 first-round picks for a guy that people don't even want to play for your football team this year. And then you let go of Nick Chubb. Yeah, the fans are going to be upset. You're going to have to weather that storm. And we got to hope that Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson are going to be able to fill the bill.
By the way,
of the greatest running back we've seen since Jim Brown.
And no send-off, right? Like that, you forget about it because like in the NBA, you get these send-offs if you're a legendary player. I mean, that's it. The last time you saw Nick Chubb, was unfortunately leaving the game in a rough way, and that's it.
216-474-0092. Are you rooting for Nick Chubb with the Houston Texans? And what's the point of all this? What's the plan? Can you see a plan that Lima and I can't see? Because it seems like you're trying to do 2 things at once. When you try to do that, you fail at both of them. 216